All right, hello everybody. My name is Alan, and it's that time once again. Let's talk metal. All right, tonight we're going to do another collector tale. Folks seem to like this format of video, and it's kind of fun for me to go back and revisit how I got some records in the past or when I made a cool discovery. Those are things that are always fun for collectors. Most of the time when you go to a record show or a record store, you find one or two little things, maybe nothing really to write home about. But every now and then, the stars all line up just perfectly for you, and you find that one really cool record. Or you find that one dealer who just has everything that you've been looking for. And yeah, those are the really exciting moments when you're collecting records or collecting other things. So tonight, I'm going to tell you about a relatively recent sort of big moment for me when I made an amazing find at one of the record stores I visit from time to time. All right. So, for a little context, when I go to record shows around the Southeast, one of the vendors that's usually set up is from Yesterdaze Records. His name's Mike. Really nice guy. And he's always got a really good selection of different stuff from punk to psych, hard rock, and always, a good chunk of heavy metal stuff as well. He has a record store called Yesterdays that's pretty close to the campus for Clemson University. So it's over in that corner of South Carolina. And again, I always see this guy at record shows. We chat, because we're from the same general area. And, I've bought records from him. I've traded records with him. I've sold him records before. So yeah, we've got a good relationship. And I saw him at a record show in North Carolina. And this would have been in, let me think, I believe it was November of 2019. So again, relatively recent, a couple of years ago. And while I was chatting with him, he mentioned like, "Hey, you ought to come over by the store sometime this week because this weekend I am going to some dude's house up here in this part of North Carolina where the record show is at, and I'm buying his heavy metal collection." I was like, "Oh, that sounds really cool." He's just like, "Yeah, it's supposed to have some really good stuff in it. I just couldn't pick it up before the record show. So like after the show ends today, I'm driving out to his place in the sticks, buying his collection, and I'll have it at the store. So you ought to come by and check out and see what's in there." I'm just like, I should do that. And I get back home, get through the rest of the weekend. And on like Sunday night, I'm kind of getting ready to go to work the next day. I'm just like, I really should try to run over to Mike's store tomorrow afternoon and see if by chance there was anything good in that collection. Because there's always a chance that something good showed up. And if I don't check it right away, it could get picked over. The vultures will circle anytime there's some good records around. And yeah, folks could, start picking out some of the good stuff right away. If there's anything good, there's probably not. I was like, if I cram this meeting in here and I work through lunch and 7 carry the 3, yeah, I can probably make just enough time and run over there before, after work before I need to head home. And so that's what I did. I kind of pushed all day on Monday, got all my work done fast, and got out of the door and headed over to Yesterday's. So I got there, place was kind of busy, walked in, saw Mike, like, "Hey, how's it going?" We chatted for a minute about how the record show had gone. He'd done really well. And I asked him, I was like, "Do you have that heavy metal collection you mentioned? I thought I'd, take some time and browse through it." He's just like, "Oh, yeah, that. I haven't even had time to unpack it yet. It's just in some cartons over there." I kind of look over and yeah, there's like a bunch of stuff he'd clearly just kind of taken out of the van and, brought inside the store and set over in a corner. I was like, "Well, do you mind if I go ahead and look at it?" And he knows that, I don't get over to his store often. It's hard for me to, often cram that record store visit in between work and heading home. So I was just like, "Oh yeah, go right ahead. That's fine." So I was like, "Okay, let's see what we got here." And there were about 5 of those old, plastic milk crates with records sitting in them. So I'm like, "Okay, let's see what we got here." And they were mostly alphabetical. Everything was sleeved and had tags in them, kind of saying what they were. So whoever had the collection, had kept them in pretty good condition and kept things documented. So I was like, "Okay, let's flip through and see what I find." start flipping through the A's, and right away, I find something cool. I find a near mint copy of this little thing, first Angel Witch album, original pressing on bronze records. I'm just like, oh, I actually don't have that. Now, if you're asking me, but Alan, you're a new wave of British heavy metal nerd. Why don't you have one of the best and most important albums from the new wave of British heavy metal when you've already been collecting this stuff for, about 30 years at that point? Well, you see, there are reasons. There are reasons. I had a really nice CD reissue of it. My True Metal Street cred is real, I swear. I just never picked it up. It's a popular record. It's always a little hard to find. Copies sell really fast, and you don't often see copies in great shape either. So yeah, this is sitting here staring at me. I'm just like, oh, you're coming home with me. Absolutely. I'm happy. I've just found a really cool record in this box. The trip is worth my time. But I keep flipping through. It's just like, well, let's see what else is in here. I've only gotten through letter A. Maybe there's something else good. This is promising. Maybe the box has something more. Now, I do hit some other good things. I want to show these a little out of order just for dramatic effect. But when I get to the end of the alphabet at V, I find this. This is the second Virgin Steele album, Guardians of the Flame. And if it doesn't look familiar to you, don't feel bad. This is not the cover most copies have. Most copies have, a big hand holding, a big sword, and it's zoomed in really close where you see the hilt on the sword. And that's the original pressing on the little Mongol Horde label that the album came in on. When it was released in Europe, however, on Music for Nations, it got different cover art. It has this kind of weird noble, savage, in the jungle fantasy art going on, which I always thought was really, really cool. The original cover art is, pretty blasé. Nothing wrong with it, but it's, kind of stereotypical heavy metal image. But this one's pretty neat looking. It's very eye-catching. And I had seen this in a record store back in the mid-90s. And like an idiot, I did the whole, well, I could buy it, but I'll get it next time I come to the store. Guess what happened next time I went to the store? This wasn't there anymore. Alan was sad. It took Alan about another 20 years to find another copy of it with this cover. So I was like, oh, holy crap. That's the cover I want. It's a great album, too. If you've never heard the second Virgin Steele, it's easily the best of their early work. Very solid heavy metal album. So it's just like, oh, come to daddy. Oh, yeah, that's the stuff. So now we've got two great albums in the to-buy pile. But we weren't quite done yet. See, when I was going through from A to B, before I got to the end of the B's, I found something else. First Broca's Helm album, original press with the insert in it. This is the only one of the records that had a little tiny condition issue. There's like one bent corner. There's one crease in the corner up here. Not very bad, but all these others are in this collection are just, stone mint. And I'm just like, I haven't seen that for a while. I have the other Broca's Helms albums, but I don't have that one. By this time, I'm starting to realize I'm not getting out of the store without spending some money today, but that's got to come home with Daddy. So we added that to the stack. But we weren't done. I get through the letter C and the letter D without issue. There's a lot of good stuff in the collection. He had like a lot of new wave of British heavy metal albums in just top condition. Chateau albums, later Diamond Head albums. But I've got the stuff there that I need. So keep flipping. And I get to the letter M. And for those of you that have watched me on streams with Marty and others, you know that one band that we tend to like, it begins with the letter M, rhymes with vanilla. And he had this in the box. This is the first pressing of Invasion. It's got, if you watch the Manila Road stream that Marty and Aaron did, Aaron showed off a copy of this. It's got the original sort of purple border around it, original pressing on the vinyl, and it's got the sort of painting of the band on the back cover, whereas the later versions, have more of a photograph, if I remember right. So I'm just looking at this and thinking, son of a bitch. I have just found a first pressing of Manila Road's Invasion in the wild here in a record store. Yikes. This is going to be a real expensive afternoon. But I'm not leaving that there. No, that cannot stay here. That needs to come with me. And that's not the best thing I found. Now, some folks are going to argue and say that was, the best thing I'll show you. In my opinion, it's the second best thing I found. Because when I got to the letter S, I found something else I had never seen in the wild. Obviously, I'm a big doom metal fan. One of the quintessential doom bands that begins with the letter S, rhymes with Titus. The first Saint Vitus, with the embossed logo in the silver letters, kind of raised up embossed, correct insert sleeve, and Stone Cold Mint. This record is a pain in the butt to find, especially in nice condition. I've looked at copies of it for years and years, and it turns up from time to time. It's not the biggest rarity out there by any means. But most copies you find have a ton of ring wear, because it's just a plain black cover. So any kind of wear shows up really strongly on it, and it looks really bad. And there's no ring wear on this copy. This thing is beautiful. Couldn't believe it was sitting there in a milk crate on the floor. In this store, just stopped by. Just like, holy crap. That's going to have to come home with me too. So, yeah, now, this is not one of these tales where I buy them for $2 a piece or anything like that. Again, Mike knows his stuff, and I know Mike. I'm not going to rip him off. Whoever had the collection, I think they had also kind of had like little price tag things or sorted. They weren't price tags, but they had like taken index cards and kind of chopped them up and written like a description of the album. And the prices they had looked like they had probably been looking them up on something like PopPsych or eBay, because they were pretty reasonable prices, what you'd expect to pay circa 2019 for these things. So yeah, wasn't a cheap pile of records. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to go into things price by price, because whatever. But yeah, it was not insignificant. I'm starting to think, well, they won't repossess my car if I miss just one payment, will they? Will they? Nah, it couldn't happen. But take these 5 records up to Mike. I'm just like, all right, found some really good stuff. Great collection. He's like, yeah, no, that collection is loaded. I couldn't believe how much good stuff they had. I'm just like, I would like to get these 5. Can you help me out on? He's like, are these the prices you're wanting in there? He's just like, yeah, I haven't really had time to look them all up and sort that out yet. I'm just like, how much would you need for these 5? He's just like, all right, let me look through them. It'll take a couple minutes. I'm like, no problem at all. Take your time. So, he went through them, looked some stuff up, and he's like, okay. And he's like, the numbers on these little index cards they had inserted adds up to this, but you're buying a bunch of stuff all at once. I know you buy a bunch of stuff from me all the time. How about we make it this number instead? And I'm like, let's see, that's carry the 7, 3, skip lunch for this many days. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I will buy those records from you for that amount. And all 5 came home. And I only had to eat cat food for lunch for, I think it was 2 weeks. Maybe 3, but I don't want to admit that. But yeah, far and away, the best finds in a record store I've ever had for heavy metal stuff. I've had some other, very cool record store visits that I'll talk about in other videos where I found some really great stuff. But finding, records of that caliber, First Press, Broca's Helms, Manila Road, Saint Vitus's, Angel Witches, and in that condition, every one of them, like I said, just everything that whole collection was essentially near mint, except one little crease on the Broke His Helm record. Mind-blowing fine. Couldn't tell you how excited I was to get this stuff. And, big props, to Mike too for, helping me out a little bit there on the price. He still got a very good price for the records, like I said, but he was reasonable about it too. He didn't go to Pop Psych and look up what's the most this record's ever sold for, and let me try to add those numbers together. Nah, he's a cool guy and he's reasonable with his prices for sure. That's my best day at a record store. Let's talk metal in the comments down below, and now you tell me, what was your best find in a record store? Not buying on eBay, not going to a record show where you've got dealers that are going to specialize, but walking into a store where, let's face it, a lot of record stores are, full of nothing but, a Nat King Cole trio records and, Partridge Family and Christmas albums, and they tend to, have the air of, despair and cat urine about them. But every now and then, you find a really good one, like Mike's store, and every now and then you find something cool. What's the best thing you've ever pulled out of a record store that you just couldn't believe was sitting there in the rack waiting for you as you flip through them? Let me know in the comments down below. All right, with that, I'm going to wrap this one up. So as always, folks, you take care, and as always, you keep banging your heads.